Hi everyone. How's the mic sound? Does it sound a little bit better than the tin can I've used for the last 2 mock drafts? I hope so. I would assume it does. This is a little bit more of a professional microphone. We are here doing Pittsburgh Steelers mock draft 3.0, and before we do that, just like we did with 2.0, we're going to take a look at some of the comments. Let's read them off because it didn't seem like you guys were happy with this 2.0 that much either. At least, well, maybe some of you were, and it wasn't as, I don't think everybody was upset as the 1.0 version. First comment from Andrew Szymanski. You should use PFN's mock draft simulator. I'm willing to give anything a try. Okay, this is Pro Football Network's mock draft simulator, and we are going to run mock 3.0 off of this one. Thank you to Andrew for suggesting it, and we'll see if this one works out any better. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Other than the fact that the ads are a little intense on this one and seemingly a little bit more, we're going to give this one a shot for mock draft 3.0. I am not sponsored by Children's Zyrtec or Tylenol, but or whatever potential ads could potentially pop up by the time we do this mock draft. But yeah, thanks to Andrew for the suggestion. We're gonna give it a shot. Okay, let's keep going with your comments. Toy Hunter, my favorite type of comment. Not everyone needs to do this. You aren't very good at it. Well, Toy Hunter, would you care to show me how much better you are at it? Because you offered no suggestion. You don't know. You didn't mention what exactly you dislike about it. But do you know who also is not good at mock drafts? Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, Pete Prisco, Peter King, anybody that does mock drafts. It's a dart throw. These people watch tons of tape, far more than I watch, and yet they still get the picks wrong. They aren't very good at it. I think there was one year where Mel Kiper, and this was not like it was like some isolated thing. This was something that's pretty common, but there was one year in the past few where Mel Kiper missed, I think he missed 22 of 32 first round picks. 22. He got 10 right. He gets paid a lot of money to make these picks. He watches tape. That's all he does is watch tape. How could he be wrong? Well, it's because he's not very good at it, because no one's very good at it. Speaking of, do you know who's not very good at drafting as well? Most of the NFL. Keep in mind that every team in the league passed on Tom Brady 5 times. 5 separate times in the same draft, they passed on Tom Brady. Are they bad at it? Yes, they are bad at it. You know, so many. Carson Wentz taken 2 overall. Matt Leinart taken by the Blake Gabbert taken early. More recently, Dwayne Haskins, you could say, was taken early. You could say that the Steelers passed on Dan Marino for Gabe Rivera. Maybe they're horrible at drafting. Maybe everybody's horrible at drafting. So, you can knock me all you like, but I'm no different than anybody else that does mock drafts, other than the fact that I watch significantly less tape. And I watch significantly less tape because I'm not getting paid to watch tape. I just decided to do this for fun because mock drafts are silly fun. They aren't meant to be taken seriously, so you may not like you may not like my draft, you may not like me, you may have not liked my tin can microphone, you may not like my voice even with a good microphone, but mock drafts are not to be taken as seriously. This is a fun thing that people do to kill time before the draft. So, sorry you don't like me. As I mentioned with the last video, there's a big YouTube world out there, and there's a ton of people that do mock drafts. Hopefully you found someone on here you like better. Go watch their channel. But I appreciate the comment. Thanks so much for watching. Sean Grizzle says, there are plenty of centers in this draft. Michigan's, Wisconsin, Georgia, Arkansas. But he also included that Lassiter is a terrible pick and you need to go receiver in that second round. So Lassiter did run a slow 40 time. Apparently he did not do himself any favors. According to experts and things like that, he was a fringe late first round guy, but because of his slow 40, has fallen to the second. Of course, he is very good at everything else. So I wouldn't say Lassiter's a terrible pick. Also, the only person of note on that board that wasn't somebody reaching into the third round was Ricky Pearsall. Is Ricky Pearsall your pick in that second round? Maybe. I don't know if it's necessarily one that I would pick here. He was the only receiver there. That's why I took Lassiter. Now, maybe Pearsall's the pick. Maybe I should have did that there. So I see your point. Also, when it comes to the centers, it seems, and I could be wrong here, that anybody that's talking about the centers in this draft, the only comment I've heard on this draft in regards to centers is that it's a deeper draft for centers. However, the only ones people only talk about are Jackson Powers-Johnson, Cedric Van Pran, Zach Frazier, and Barton. So those are the only ones that actually get any traction. Now, and I'll tie this one comment in with this next comment from B. Todd Williams. Look at the top centers in this league. Most of them are between the third and fifth rounds. You can't get a starting tackle in the third or fifth round. You take your tackle first and you go for your center in the second and third round. Okay, so I agree to this to an extent. The problem is that the tackles, I agree, and like I said, I agree, I would take a tackle, but because center is such a pressing need, just because the NFL has decided that center is not an important position, if you have a good center, regardless of whether you drafted them early or not, you are in a good position. You don't need to worry about a center until you don't have one. We currently don't have a center. We don't have a center. And similar to what I said in the last video, if you want Herbig snapping the ball and he's going to be the regular guy, then yeah, we'll take a center in the third, fourth, fifth round, or the second or third for that matter. The problem is that once the first batch of centers go, there is a drop off, and I don't want a guy, I want the guy, and I'm willing to pay top dollar to get the guy at the Steelers' biggest position of need, which at the moment is center. I don't like Dan Moore's play either. I don't like his play. I would love him much more as a swing tackle. But right now, unless you're fine with Herbig being the guy, I think we have to take a top pick on center, or at the very least, wait till the second round. But I wouldn't go beyond that. But my problem is if you don't go in the first, then they might not be there for you in the second. So that's all I'm saying. And I understand the need to draft a tackle too. But what I'm saying is they could bring somebody in that could potentially compete and beat out Dan Moore. That's a veteran via trade, via free agency, versus bringing in a free agent center who doesn't exist. They waited too long, and all the free agent centers were gone. There's not too many available via trade either, so that's the issue. So we're running into a situation where there are no centers to be had, so they have to address this in this draft, and they have to do it early. Okay, Ed L246, and he has a Flyers logo, which, as a Penguins fan, is my sworn enemy. However, Ed's going to say a lot of truth right here. Whoever thinks Latham is a better pick than Jackson Powers-Johnson really needs to learn the game. Jackson Powers-Johnson is the best center in this draft, and Latham is borderline third best tackle. Now, I have no issue with Latham, but what he says here is correct. Latham is probably the third best tackle in this draft. And Jackson Powers-Johnson, in my opinion, is the top center in this draft. Now, apparently he's falling down draft boards. It's because he has concussion issues. However, I'm willing to take him in the second round because of it. If he wants to fall down in the second round and I can pick him up, fine. But as a first round guy, I would consider it as well just because of that immediate need. The immediate need that we don't have. So, thanks, Ed. You're a Flyers fan, but you're cool. Skylar Cannon 2787. I like this draft, though I don't like taking a tackle over one of the top center choices. Skylar, where were you in mock draft 1.0 when everybody was ganging up on me that I didn't take a tackle? I took a center. I took Jackson Powers Johnson with that first pick. I took him with the first pick in mock draft 1.0, and people killed me for it. Let's see. You picked up Pran. You should have went for Mims, because I feel like Broderick Jones and Mims would all take a big leap, linking up with linemen that I already have a rapport with. Fair. Now, my concern with Mims, as I mentioned in the last draft, is that apparently Mims has only had 8 career starts. Mims also, because he's 6'8", has had a lot of injuries. And when you're a big guy like that, and you've had a lot of injuries, and you've had limited starts, he is very boom or bust. He could be one of those guys that's a great guy for a decade. He also could be one of those guys that plays 1 year and can't hack it. Think of Mike Adams. A massive tackle from Ohio State that he took in the second round, and he played for a few seasons, but he wasn't that great, and he ended up basically never playing again. I don't know if he ever played for any other team again. Matt Vukovic, 4385. I think this draft proved your point. Quality tackles fall to the later rounds 2 through 5. If you can get Goncaves that late, I'm totally going center. Then again, if Bowers falls that far, I'm taking him and figuring out the rest later. Center has to be early. Don't listen to this comment section foolery. I agree. Now, Bowers, you taking Bowers then, the tight end. Because at the moment, the Steelers have 4 tight ends. They have 4 of them. They have Pat. They have Darnell Washington. They have Connor Hayward. And they have Nicole Pruitt, which they just added recently. He's apparently a Smith guy. He's been on all of Arthur Smith's teams. So I assume they're moving then Connor Hayward to fullback, and that would leave them with the 3. But Brock Bowers being there would be interesting, except for it'd be an interesting weapon. But would that mean the end of Pat? Would you then trade Pat for potentially a center or tackle or whatever you missed out in the first round? That's a lot of work involved. Is Bowers that guy? Is he going to have a Kyle Pitts start to his career, or is he going to be a guy that's actually going to deliver? That would be interesting. He's fallen in the mock draft database one. We'll be interested to see how he falls in this Pro Football Network mock draft simulator. So, that is it for the comment section. I don't know how to do right by you people this time. Some of you want a center. Now, actually, a few of you actually commented you want center. A few people said you can wait till much later to center, and you need a tackle now. I gave you a center in the first one and got condemned for it. I gave you a tackle in the second one, and some of you weren't through with it either. What am I supposed to do? Well, the thing is, I'm going to do what the Steelers are going to do. Not listen to any of you at all and just make a pick based on how the board falls. I am going to entertain some trades in this one. So let's get into Mock Draft 3.0. Pittsburgh Steelers for the 2024 on Tom was here.
Hey, how do you like this? I'm Dan Israel, and you're watching Tom Was Here.
Okay, let's get into Mock Draft 3.0 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is the first time using Pro Football Network's mock draft, so other than the ads, which there seem to be an abundance of, it's okay. We're going to give this one a shot to see what we got going on here. So, let's get into it. Okay, Caleb Williams, Jake May, that's him, Neighbors, Dudes, Brock Bowers, Jerry Arnold, Jaden Daniels fell, McCarthy, a little bit of a run, while Mims went early. Latham, Joe Alt went late. I think if Joe Alt was still there at round where Jacksonville was picking, the Steelers would try to do a trade up. I think they would try to do a trade up. Okay. 2 trade offers. First one's from Baltimore. Going from 20 to 30 and picking up 62. They might be entertained by such an offer. And this is from 20 to 28, but picking up a 2025 next year. That's not for me. 30 to 62, the problem is 10 spots. 10 spots is a lot. 10 spots is a whole lot. A lot can happen in 10 spots. I'm going to reject these offers. I would like picking up the extra 62 pick. I think if they did something like that, they would use the third that they have, the extra third, to move up to attempt to get their guy. But I got to stand pat on this one. There's too many names. In this circumstance, you know what I'm going to do? I haven't taken him yet. It's a little bit of a reach from this thing, and Brian Thomas is on the board. But I believe, and I think this is correct, that they did not send the full group to LSU to view any of the wide receivers, which concerns me about Brian Thomas, that they did not value him in the same light as a receiver they would consider taking. I am going to take Graham Barton. The need is center, and we got to have one of them. The concern about Barton is that he has not played center since his, I think, freshman year, that does concern me. They might NFL project him as such a thing, but when you have a situation where somebody doesn't play center, I just have concerns having them start at center, just like Herbig. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to take Graham Barton here. A little bit of a reach, maybe a move down if some other team offered somewhere in like the 23, 24, 25 range, I think could acquire him and we could get some extra ammo. But at 20, let's take Graham Barton here and see how it all shakes out. I said first time taking Barton in the draft. Jackson Powers-Johnson only went a few picks later. Nate Wiggins is still there. Johnny Newton's still there. Wow. Interesting to see how it kind of shakes out, how it falls. It'd be cool to trade up in this scenario. I guess I supposedly could do something like that, but I'm going to stand pat here at 51 and see what is on the board. Unless I get a better offer. Now, this offer, I can't do next year. If it was this year, I might consider that, but I'm not going to do it for that. We're going to reject that. Okay. Okay, so a few different... Let's see, Patrick Paul. He's a tackle from Houston. Malachi Corley, receiver. Rowan Wilson, receiver. There's Cameron Kitchens, the safety. Safety is not really their most pressing need versus, say, like a wide receiver or a corner or a tackle for that matter. But similar to the same thing with centers, it's kind of the same thing with tackles. We took our center in the first, and now there's no tackles here in the second. At least not worth something that would be a reach. So in that situation, do you trade down? Or they take what they feel is the top player available with that position. There is not a tackle for... Let's find him. Patrick Paul. It's tackle from Houston. You know what? I said the Steelers should do probably center, tackle, wide receiver. That's probably their needs. Probably wide receiver more than tackle. But that wide receiver depth isn't exactly there. Jalen Polk, I took him in mock draft 2.0 actually in the third, and people, I had a few people upset with me. Let's see, there's a few receivers there, but Steelers usually do find receivers later. So I'm going to say, in this particular circumstance, we're taking Patrick Paul, the tackle from Houston, and we're taking him in the second. Because we now have a center and we have a tackle. Now we're dropping to 84. Okay. 2 trade offers. Cleveland only wants to move up one pick, and they want 195. They're giving us 156. I think that might be something we have to take.
Take it.
And then 84 to 121, 7 were next year's picks. I'm going to take Cleveland's offer here, and I'm going to move down one spot and get a little bit higher draft pick out of it. There is not one position that I see here, at least based on the shown, that, unless they take something random, that is going to affect what I was going to do. And they took a corner. Now here's...
They take a corner.
They wanted a corner.
Didn't they have Emerson, Ward, and Newsom?
Yeah, you can never have enough corner depth. So let's see. Now this is 85 to 86. It's dropping one spot again, picking up a 2025 fifth. I think the Steelers would consider that as well, but I'm not in a position to do next year's deals. So I'm going to hold off on that. And let's see who is here. Now we've taken a center. We've taken a tackle. We have... nobody really here that's super exciting. We do need receivers. Looks like the top one is Johnny Wilson, the wide receiver from Florida State.
I think that's the guy that's 6'7", right?
Is he 6'7"?
I think he is.
6'6".
Big guy right there.
It's a big guy. You know what?
One hamburger away from tight end.
Big guy, 6'6". That is tall.
You're getting that.
We're gonna, it's worth a shot.
Calvin Benjamin right here.
Wait, is this the trade offer from Houston, or is this just like a...
Houston.
Yeah, the Houston one. Okay, hide that. Okay, with that, you know what? Let's do Johnny Wilson here. We need kind of center, tackle, receiver. Doesn't necessarily have to be in that order. We'll take Johnny Wilson here. Big receiver. Very big. Maybe too big. Maybe tight end big, but
Say this is the draft with
big
Brandon Ayuk.
nonetheless.
Let's
Yeah.
just say we got Brandon Ayuk.
Well, that's not. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Dropping quite a few spots, but picking up 136 as well for the 7th round pick. That's some interesting depth. And you kind of filled, your needs in this draft so far. You know what? I think the Steelers might do that if presented on, because they're trading away a 7th next year, but getting 121 and 136 this year is intriguing. Should that be something that they will do? Let's say, hey, let's do it. Now, they did drop all these spots, meaning all these players they gave up on here. Is there anyone of note they gave up on that was better or more worthwhile than getting 2 picks later in this 4th round? I don't know. Maybe not necessarily. Blake Corum has fallen off a cliff. If they don't have... We got 119 and 121. So... Let's see. There's some interesting names here. Faye N, one of my Patreon supporters, kind of gave me a hard time for, not really a hard time, but he tried to explain that Brendan Rice was not Jerry Rice when I took him in mock draft 1.0, and I agree. However, Jerry Rice wasn't Jerry Rice when they took him in the draft, and he worked his way up to being Jerry Rice. I'm not saying Brendan Rice is going to ever come anywhere close to Jerry Rice's career or legacy, but I watched Caleb Williams' highlight tape, and I came away impressed, not just with him, surprisingly, even though, he didn't have a great record in college, but I was impressed by Brendan Rice. He was all over that highlight tape. And then I pulled up his highlights, and it gave a very Juju-like vibe. Juju Smith-Schuster-like vibe. Maybe it was the USC uniforms, but I kind of liked his game. And the Steelers do need to double dip receiver-wise in this draft. And I think maybe Brendan Rice might be the pick. The Steelers love a good bloodline. And, what's better than having the kid of the greatest receiver of all time, even though the kid won't necessarily achieve that. He just has to be solid. He doesn't have to be a legend. But if he turned into a legend, I wouldn't mind. Let's take Brendan Rice here. A little bit of a reach at 119. He's at 131. Okay, now a one trade offer. It's not a bad one. Dropping 2 spots, picking up 188, and giving up a 2025 7th round pick. I think they consider that too. Only 2 spots. So let's do it. We're wheeling and dealing in this one. I mean, we lost out on a safety and a tight end. Now this is that Houston again? Houston's trading again? They want us to drop 4 spots. We're giving up New Orleans 7th. No, this is New Orleans 7th from next year. We have New Orleans 7th from next year. And we're getting 127 and 189. I mean, who's on the board? I mean, I'd consider that too. Let's consider that as well. Why not? We lost out on a few different players. So no trades on this one, so we have to make the pick. And man, as far as value's concerned, Blake Corum, I don't think they have any room for him. But that's pretty solid value at 127. You'd almost have to consider it. Unless they're putting Cordell Patterson back at receiver, I think they're keeping Cordell Patterson at running back. Or is Cordell Patterson going to be kind of like a special teams, guy, like almost like a 6th receiver, but they're not really calling him a receiver because he had transitioned into running back. But man, if they need a 3rd running back, not that I want them or expect them or whatever to do this, but it's 127. There's Blake Corum sitting there at 85 value. He's pretty good. I think they turn in the card and ask questions later. They made several move downs here. They already kind of have their main needs filled out. Now maybe they could get potentially a I mean, he's got to be the top guy, yes. Kalen King's still sitting there. They did not take a corner in this draft, and Kalen King's still sitting there. I think that would be something they would consider. But man, oh man, a Blake Corum, could they fit him in? There was questions about Najee's 5th-year option. Now, Najee has been, if not spectacular, very steady, multi-1,000-yard seasons. But does that mean you're going to pick him up for the 5th-year option run? Here's a guy here in Blake Corum that could potentially be a 3rd as needed. 2nd with, Jaylen Warren could potentially... Would Jaylen Warren be the guy if they got rid of Najee, or would he be something where he'd be always that complimentary back role? It's hard to say. I'm going to say, and you can, criticize me in the comments here because I didn't take Kalen King the corner here. I'm going to say I'm going to take Blake Corum because of the value that's sitting here. He's 85 as 127. They find a way to fit him in. They have another pick again at 136. Maybe Kalen King falls there. But I think Corum's the offer there. I think Corum's just the good value for that selection. Kalen King went, and of course he went. Cam Hart went too. Boo. Boo, boo, boo. Oh, well. Okay, 136 to 146. You're picking up 182. That's not bad. Apparently we have Denver 7th. I don't know where we're getting all these 7th-round picks from. Do we have all these 7th-round picks? I'm not picking up any 7th-round. Do we have just a bunch of 7th-round picks? Where are we getting Denver's 7th from? I don't know. I could be wrong here. All right, that's fine. Let's reject that. I could be here all day. Now, we did lose out on Cam Hart and Kalen King. That's 2 corners that I would have considered. Taking. However, let's see. There's still corners to be had. Let's see. We have Malik Mustafa, the safety from Wake Forest in round 5. You have Kyrie Jackson, the corner from Oregon. You have Jerrion Jones, the corner from Florida State. There's Bo Limmer, the center from Arkansas. You already have a center, but maybe want to back him up. Let's take Kyrie Jackson, the corner from Oregon. Obviously, the Steelers do need some corner depth. They definitely need a nickel corner. That could be something they address post-draft. There also could be an option. I heard the name Isaiah Simmons being ballied around as a potential post-draft ad. If they don't, get like a middle linebacker / safety type third dime backer thing in this draft, they might pull a trigger on that. But let's say Kyrie Jackson here because they need corners. And we're picking again 156. So not too far of a drop. And there's some... there's Johnny Dixon, the corner from Penn State. There goes Luke McCaffrey. There goes Joe Milton. They've been taken in previous mock draft versions here. Okay, so we got our corner. We have a wide receiver. We actually double dipped on wide receiver. Let's see what we did here. Let's see my picks. Oh my God, there's a hair trigger on this. Okay, we got center, we got tackle, we got wide receiver back to back, running back, and corner. We did not get any defensive tackle. We did not get safety, which are... They don't even list defensive tackle as a need, or defensive line for that matter as a need. They list corner, which we addressed, tackle, which we addressed, center, which we addressed, wide receiver, which we addressed, but not safety. I don't see any safety here. Well, Jalen Carley's. But, Jordan Jefferson's sitting here with a higher value, a defensive tackle from LSU. And look, Cam Hayward's not getting any younger. I know, trying to replace what potentially is a future Hall of Famer and Cam Hayward with some guy in the 5th round may not be the case. They have a bunch of guys that they took in the mid-rounds that haven't been able to fit that bill, at least so far. We don't know yet what Keanu Benton could be. So let's add a little depth, and let's do Jordan Jefferson. Make that pick here. Defensive tackle. We haven't allowed a lot of defensive players other than one corner and now one defensive tackle in this draft, which is good considering we have the highest paid defense in the league and the lowest paid offense in the league. So being able to add certain players at certain positions and making it an offensive heavy draft, not necessarily a bad thing. Now, 178, 6th round, I see MJ Devonshire, the corner from Pitt. There has been talks of that. Here's Tommy Eichenberg, the linebacker from Ohio State. Josh Proctor, a safety from Ohio State. There's a center from Penn State. There's a few choices here. Let's see. Maybe worth a double dip in the corner position. Now, I did add MJ Devonshire in mock draft 1.0. But here's Daquan Hardy, a corner from Penn State. A little bit higher ranked than Devonshire. I think with the familiarity with Devonshire in Pitt, that maybe they'd go that route. Of course, there's Kenny Logan. We haven't taken a safety yet. We have not taken a safety yet. So we didn't double dip on corner either, but we have not taken a safety. They have a few safeties on the roster, but I think depth at the safety position, given all the injuries they've had over the last few years and the fact that they play 3 safety sets, might be something to consider that. But let's say Kenny Logan here, and why not? We also have picks 188, 189 based on our trades. So let's do a Kenny Logan. Maybe one of these guys falls, Hardy or Devonshire. Eichenberg could be interesting as well. I don't think the Steelers have ever left the draft without taking a a linebacker. So this is interesting. Eichenberg went, but Hardy and Devonshire is here, and you have the next 2 picks. Could they double dip? That'd be a triple dip, actually. But let's say it's Daquan Hardy here, the corner from Penn State. And let's say he's 5'10". Let's pick him. Wait, what are we doing? Oh, we're resuming draft. Oh, I did take Daquan Hardy. Okay. All right. We're resuming draft. Okay. Wow. We got a trade offer. We got a trade offer. 189 and 2025 7th for 204, 229. At this point, do we need a bunch of picks? I don't think we need a bunch more picks. We took quite a few. Of course, Devonshire is still there. Josh Proctor's still there. We did take that safety earlier. Let's see. Is there any O-line depth or anything like that? Any late round QBs that are worth their note? Not really. Let's see. Sweet safety. Safety, corner, defensive tackle. We have gone heavy defense in these last few picks. We did go heavy offense at the start. Having tackle depth wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. Christian Jones, the tackle from Texas, is sitting there. That wouldn't be too bad. I mean, I think ultimately, I don't know if they'd go 3 corners in the draft. I mean, they need depth. They don't need depth that bad. Also, they did want to add a few veterans in there. So I'm going to have them take Christian Jones here, who is the tackle from Texas, just based on kind of where they're at. And, see how the rest of this draft falls. And Devonshire went straight after. Let's see, Patrick McMorris. Let's see, is there anybody of note? Josh Proctor. It's another safety. Let's see, DeAndre Prince, some of that. Hayden. Luke Reimer, I don't think I actually took a... I don't think I took a linebacker in this draft, which the Steelers never leave a draft without a linebacker. Stamp it here now. They're going to take a linebacker in this draft. It's almost a guarantee. I would be shocked if they didn't take one. It seems to happen every year. So even though they don't necessarily have a linebacker need, it seems that they always take linebacker. And I'm almost certain they're going to do so here. It's probably going to be Jeremiah Trotter in roughly the 3rd round if they keep both their 3rd round picks. Let's see. Nobody really. Bub Means, the Mr. Irrelevant from Pitt. How about that? Okay. Okay, and there's our draft, folks. Quite a few picks. I don't know if they're ever going to make that many picks. I think they would do a lot more moving and shaking, even though I made several deals on this. I think they would make some, but quite a few picks. The Blake Corum one, I kind of expect to get some heat on. There may be a few other ones I'll potentially get heat on. The bummer I don't like about Pro Football Network's one, even though I did like that had kind of fairly more realistic trade options than the other one, is just the fact that they don't grade this particular trades. I did like the grades that Pro Football, the other NFL mock draft database simulator gave, whereas this one did not. But beyond that, pretty happy with this. I don't know if it's necessarily one I would use regularly. I do like the grades, even though there's the unevenness of the trades that are bad. Which some people were happy about based on the first, some people were unhappy about based on the first comment. So let me know your thoughts on this draft. Do you feel good about it? Do you hate it? Do you hate it with a passion? I expect you will. But Graham Barton, Patrick Paul, so you got center, you got tackle, you got wide receiver, giant wide receiver in the third. You double dipped a wide receiver at 119. Blake Corum fell all the way to 127. You got Kyrie Jackson, the cornerback, Justin Jefferson, defensive tackle, Kenny Logan, the safety, Daquan Hardy is a corner, and Christian Jones, the tackle at 189. That is it for Mock Draft 3.0. Very curious to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. I may feature them in a future mock video, granted that you do them right away. It is draft week after all. The draft mocks are going to be hot and heavy this week. I'm going to try to put out quite, a few more if at all possible. So I may not be able to get to any comments just based on the frequency of how much I'm putting them out. But that'll wrap it up for the Pittsburgh Steelers 2024 Mock Draft 3.0. Guys, thanks so much for watching. If you were new here, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Like to support me on Patreon, like John Bailey, like Brett Persing, like Faye N. You can do so. Link is in the description below. If you'd like to buy a t-shirt, a Tomwashere t-shirt, you can do so at Spreadshirt, as well as links to my eBay store, Facebook page, Instagram, TikTok, and the Pennsylvania Autograph Collectors Association. Links are in the description below. When it comes to Steelers Mock Draft 3.0, and until the next mock draft or the next video, I will see you soon. But until then, bye everyone.